nice to meet you, Liam. I mean, I know you, and then we know each other, and I heard you many times from the Wolverhampton press conference when I could join via Zoom in the past when Bruno was there. And
Yeah, back in the day of COVID Zoom press conferences, wasn't it? That was
yeah,
feels a
yeah,
long time ago now, doesn't it?
yeah. I asked about Hwang every time, and then Bruno
Yeah.
was always joking. I mean, he almost enjoys my questions about Hwang, and then
Yeah.
he made great quotes, and I miss him actually.
No, Bruno was a really good guy, as
Yeah.
away from football, just to work with.
Mm,
Obviously, as you say, you got the experience of speaking to him over Zoom. I obviously had Zoom initially, and then also in person as well. And yeah, Bruno was a really lovely man. Great,
yeah.
I hope he goes on and does good things in football because I know it hasn't worked out for him in Brazil, but he's
Mm.
he's a good guy, one of the good guys in football.
And then, I mean, after Bruno, I mean, Lopetegui, the next manager, also he was also very nice. He even treated you some pizzas when they have clean sheet, right?
Yeah, it sort of started out as a bit of a joke, really, because he was rewarding the players with
Mm-hmm.
meals and sort of parties and little events when they would get clean sheets, because he knew that with Wolves in the relegation places or threatened
Mm-hmm.
relegation battle that they were in at the time,
Mm-hmm.
he knew that clean sheets were going to be really important to Wolves staying in the Premier League. So
Mm-hmm.
it started with him doing that with the players. Then he made a bit of a joke in a press conference and said that if we get a clean sheet in this game, I forget which game it was, but if you get a clean sheet in this game, maybe I'll treat the you guys, as in the people in the room, the media in the room. Wolves did get a clean sheet, got a good result
Mm-hmm.
that
Mm-hmm.
weekend, and I think most people forgot about it. To be honest,
Mm-hmm.
I don't. No one brought it up. No one thought of it. And then
Mm-hmm.
the following Friday, almost a week
Mm-hmm.
later, he walks in with pizzas and
Mm-hmm.
chips and
Mm-hmm.
desserts, and there was a lot of unexpected things. It was Julian was again, look, a great guy to work for me personally
Mm-hmm.
as someone with massive name in the game, as well as
Yeah.
someone who had a lot of, I think, respect and admiration for the job we've got to do, which is difficult as well. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, another good guy to work
Yeah.
with, and yeah,
I
he
mean,
looked after us as well.
yeah, I mean, let's start with the questions because I think I can speak to you all day and then we can speak more about pizzas or something, but let's focus on the questions
Yeah.
and then we can naturally talk about those managers. And first of all, can you please, I mean, many Wolverhampton fans and Hwang fans, Hichan in Korea know your name already, but can you please introduce yourself for Korean fans, please?
Yes, absolutely. My name's Liam Keane. I'm the Wolves correspondent for the Express and Star, which is the local newspaper in
Mm,
Wolverhampton. And yeah, I grew up as a Wolves fan. So as a child, I'm not from Wolverhampton. I'm from sort of further south
mm,
geographically in England.
mm,
But uh, I grew up a Wolves fan, so kept up to date with the coverage that the Express and Star, my predecessors, used to do covering Wolves, and I managed to land a job doing exactly that, covering my club. So it's this is my third season now. My first season
mm,
was
mm,
21-22 when Bruno
mm,
Lage first came into the job, and
mm.
yeah, I'm now in my third season in the Premier League.
It's same with Hichan, isn't it?
Yes, that was the summer he arrived. Yes, that's correct. So me and
Yeah,
me and me and Hee-chan have been on the same journey together. You could put it that way.
yeah. I mean, that is one of the reasons why you like him, I think.
Yeah, yeah, because yeah, it was that summer that he arrived, wasn't it? On loan initially, with
Yeah.
the option to buy, and then Wolves, later did that deal. Yeah, that's correct.
All right. That I mean, it's dream comes to you for you. I mean, if you are a Wolverhampton fan, then that the fact you are writing for the club is dream comes to you. That's very nice. And the next question from me is that I mean, let's talk about Wolverhampton first before we go into Hwang's situation. I mean, we said about Bruno and Lopetegui already a bit, but after you started covering Wolverhampton and after Hitchan joined Wolverhampton, there was Bruno and then Lopetegui, and now Gary is leading the team. And about this season, how do you think about this season, especially after Lopetegui left in a bit of unusual situation? How do you think about current?
Yeah. I think that most people, if you look at fans of other clubs, journalists, pundits, analysts, other managers, I think a lot of people expected Wolves to really struggle this season. A lot of Wolves fans expected Wolves to really struggle this season because they'd lost a manager who managed Real Madrid and Spain and has won trophies. They lost him 4 days before the start of the season. And they lost a lot of big name players: Ruben Neves, Jan Coutinho, Connor Cody, Raul Jimenez, Adama Traore. The list goes on. There's a lot of very big name players that Wolves lost in the summer as well, and they hadn't signed many. They only signed a couple up until the start of the season. So a lot of people expected them to struggle. I expected them to struggle to an extent, but I did think there was enough quality in the side to still do okay. My prediction at the start of the season was maybe a finish in the Premier League of around about 14th. Wolves are above that at the moment in 12th, so they're doing slightly better than even I expected, but they're doing a lot better than what other people expected. And a lot of that is down to the players themselves and also Gary O'Neill. I think he's done an excellent job at bringing the fans, the players, the community together, and everyone's working in the same direction. Now, they've got a long way to go. They've got improvements to make still. But at the moment, they're a very well-coached side. And I think that has been the major plus point for them this season.
I think the important thing is why? Why do you think, I mean, at the moment, Wolverhampton is doing better than what you and the fans expected? Because, I mean, when I know that Gary is a nice guy, of course, but comparing to Lopetegui, he has much more big experience in football, right? So when Wolverhampton lost Lopetegui, it was very worrying situation. But Gary O'Neill is still doing quite well. Why do you think is the reason for that?
Yeah, I think there's a few. One of them being that Gary O'Neill is incredibly detailed, and a big part of Wolves' success, I think, has been tactically in their game plans going into games. So that, I think, has made a massive difference. I think he's realised a few issues around fitness, around the way that the players approach games as well, that he's corrected. So there are a couple of really big points. Some work that the club had been doing in January when Lopetegui was still at the club was to bring players in that desperately wanted to be at the club and wanted to play for Wolves. Whereas in the past, they'd sign players for big money that maybe didn't necessarily want to stay at Wolves or didn't want to be there for a long period of time. So that was a big thing that Wolves changed in their sort of recruitment shift mentality. And Gary O'Neill, I think, Lopetegui did this as well to stay in the league. But since then, Gary O'Neill has grasped that and created an atmosphere and a camaraderie within the side that is relating to the supporters. And when everyone, fans, players, staff, when everyone is heading in the same direction, I think there's a lot of power. I think it's very powerful. So with that, results, performances, consistency starts to come. And I think that they've been the major differences that Gary O'Neill has brought in, I think.
I mean, obviously we will talk about Hwang, but one important point in here is that you said Gary O'Neill is very detailed manager, and he is dealing with the fitness from the for the players very well. And then one thing which is very important for Hwang is that he is always nice, great player, but he got injured many times since he joined Wolverhampton. But this season he is not injured, so he could fit and he could play well this season. That is very important fact, I think, for Hichan and also for Wolverhampton. Do you think is that the fact that Hichan is not injured at all and then he keeps his fitness well is down to Gary O'Neill's detailed way of his coaching?
It's difficult to say if it's down to Gary O'Neill because to be honest, a lot of it is probably luck. However, I do know that Hwang puts a lot of work in. Hee-chan is a kind of player that is first to arrive at the training ground, last to leave kind of player. He puts in a lot of work outside of the scheduled hours, I suppose, that you have to be at the training ground. He does a lot of work to keep himself in a good physical condition. So I think it's that and a little bit of luck that has played into him having a lot less injuries. But you make a really, really important point. Him not having injuries so far this season is a massive part of why he's been so successful for Wolves this year. And long may it continue. Let's hope that he stays fit.
Yeah, I mean, that's key. I mean, I always write on Twitter or whatever that if only Hwang could stay fit all season, he could score more than 10 goals. And then I truly believe that. So the key for Wolverhampton and also Hee-chan is that make him stay fit in all season. Also, I mean, as you said, it's also down to luck because no player wants to get injured, but it happens in the football. But also, it's very important. So okay, so let's move on to Hwang. The question about Hwang first, and then we both remember that especially last season, there was some time that Hwang was under huge criticism, and then some Wolverhampton fans thought that he's not good enough for the club. Those kind of negative views, there were those kind of negative views, but he changed the fans' attitude on him by himself. What do you think was the reason for that?
Hee-chan has what we would call in England, he's been on a roller coaster ride of a career at Wolves so far. He's had really big highs, really low lows. When he first arrived at Wolves, he came off the bench away at Watford in the Premier League and scored on his debut. He then went on a bit of a run of scoring in games, and he was linking up really nicely with Raul Jimenez under Bruno Lage at the time in 2021. And then it got to, I think it was January 2022. I think it was January. It was around that time. And he got a injury away at Brighton, didn't he? A hamstring injury. That left him out for, I think it was close to 2 months at the time. And that played a big part in his form suffering. He then, as you've already said, he had a few other injuries as well, a lot of hamstring issues, a lot of hamstring strains. And we got through to August 2022. The new season had started. This was last season. And Hwang had a moment where Wolves played Preston in the Carabao Cup at Molineux. They won that game 2-1. But when they were 1-0 up, I think, or maybe 2-0 up, Wolves won a penalty. Hwang took it and he missed. And that was on a Tuesday night in August. Then the following Saturday, a few days later, Hwang came off the bench. Wolves were playing Newcastle at home in the Premier League at Molineux. Wolves were 1-0 up. And Hwang should have cleared the ball away in the last minute of the game. And he kicked the ball pretty much into the air, directly onto Alan St. Maximan's foot, and he scored a last-minute equaliser. So Hwang had a really difficult sort of 5 or 6 days there, where a lot of fans criticised him, and to be honest, rightly so at the time, because he was at fault for those two incidents. And I think, and I'm speaking for Hee-chan here, but I think that his confidence suffered because of that, and he struggled to come back from that that tough moment initially. And he seems like the kind of player to me that what we would call in England a confidence player, someone who needs the arm around a shoulder from a manager, someone who needs to feel loved and appreciated. And at that time, he wasn't. There was a section of Wolves fans that were still chanting his name because they wanted to give him support, but there was a lot of criticism as well online. And I think he struggled with that. Towards the end of last season, under Lopetegui, he actually scored a couple goals and started to play well again. And the signs were there for what's happening this season. A big part of his turnaround, I think, is confidence, as we say, staying fit, as you mentioned. And those two things combined with maybe a little bit of luck, being in the right place at the right time for a goal and getting consistency, means that he is now one of the first names on the Wolves team sheet and is an incredibly important player. We already knew that he was talented. We just needed the consistency. And now Wolves are having both, which means that it's the best of both worlds.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, thanks for telling me about the whole story. I mean, since he joined the club, I mean, yeah, there were two very unlucky situations, and then as we are keep saying that it's unlucky for him that he got injured in very important part of the season when he was playing well, he got injured again. So that would be the key to make him stay fit. Please tell someone in Wolves your context to help him keep I mean fit during the season. I'm always doing that. So can you please
I'll pass it on. I'll pass it on.
All right. And then the next question is that yeah, we already talked about his turnaround, and then what I keep feeling about Wolverhampton and Hwang is that we talk about Bruno. I mean, he talk about Hwang he loved Hwang. I mean, he is the person who brought Hwang into Wolverhampton, and he loved him. And then Lopetegui also liked him. Gary O'Neill also likes him. I mean, what do you think is the reason that all managers seem to like him very much? And you talk about what he is doing in the training ground. Is there anything, do you think Hwang is doing well in training ground, or, I mean, off the pitch?
Yeah, just on that last bit, I have heard in the past that he'd be the kind of player that would come to the training ground out of hours when everyone else is at home and there's maybe a few staff members there, and he would do extra things, I don't know, ice baths or work in the gym and things like that. So he's the kind of player that goes the extra mile to improve himself and improve his own form, feel confident, feel happy. And any player that does that has got the potential to go on to be a really great player. Some of the best players not some, all of the best players in the world do those extra small details to make themselves better every day. And if Hee-chan continues to do that, I have confidence he'll be an exceptional player. So so that is, I think, testament to him and his own attitude. But you are absolutely right. Every single manager that he's played for at Wolves, they've all loved him. They've loved him for different reasons, I think. But one reason that probably covers all of the managers is that Hee-chan is incredibly hardworking on the pitch. So even when he was struggling, not scoring goals, not playing particularly well, he's the kind of player that would track back, make tackles. He would help the defense. He would help the midfield. He would look after the ball. He would do all of the kind of running that you need to add a bit more intensity to the game and to hopefully give Wolves the best chance of getting a result. He's the kind of player that is very reliable, very dependable. He's very intelligent, very good at taking instructions and carrying out a game plan. So all of those things make him a manager's dream, really, because even if he isn't performing to his best, he is still someone who will do a job in whatever circumstance you need. And then if you do get him at your best, at his best rather, which Gary O'Neill is getting from him right now, he's a player who is capable of scoring goals and winning games. So if you can get the two of those things together, he's a very, very, very dangerous player. So that is where Wolves are benefiting.
I mean, what you just mentioned reminds me of what Bruno was saying about Hwang. Even when Hwang wasn't scoring, then he always defends Hwang, that he's still contributing for the team. Yeah, and then you also said Gary O'Neill is getting the best out of Hwang right now. Do you think there is any kind of tactical reason for that this season on the pitch, that he is using Hwang and that too very well?
Yeah, he's used Hwang a little bit differently in certain games. He initially started him out on the right side, out on the right wing. That was very brief, and he moved him over to the left wing. And then recently, in the last 3 or 4 games, Hwang's been playing this role where he's out on the left, but he also comes inside and plays as a striker alongside Mateus Cunha. So it depends whether Wolves play a 5 in defence or a 4 in defence. And it depends where Ryan Aït-Nouri plays. So Ryan Aït-Nouri will play as a left wing back and play in the 5 of defence, and Hwang will play on the left wing. If Aït-Nouri plays as a left winger, slightly further forward, Hwang comes inside and plays alongside Cunha. But that isn't something that is rigid during just one game. They'll change during games, and then change 5 minutes later, then they'll change for the next game. So Hwang is playing what I would describe as a hybrid role at the moment, where he's playing left wing / striker, and it gives him a bit of freedom because Hwang is a very, very intelligent finisher. He gets into the right positions at the right time to score goals. But when he has the ball at his feet, he's also a very powerful runner. So you want him to have the opportunity to do both or either. And that position, I think, is really suiting him at the moment because he can pull out wide, pick the ball up and run with the ball and be powerful and dangerous and direct. Or he can come inside, link up with the players around him and get into the box. And when 황희찬이 gets into the box, he has got a very good chance of scoring because of his intelligence and his positioning and his awareness. So I think that hybrid role that Gary O'Neill has almost created for Hwang, and it depends on other players as well, as I've said, Ryan Aït-Nouri and also Totti Gomez, because Totti Gomez will play as a left-sided centre-back in a back 5, or he'll move to left-back in a back 4, and he changes alongside Aït-Nouri and Hwang. So depending on the other players as well, it suits them. But this is giving Hwang a bit of freedom as well as technical and tactical prowess. He's being able to be free, but also disciplined. And it's a difficult balance to find. But Hwang is very good at both sides of their game. And that's really where I think he's flourishing.
That hybrid role is that, I mean, it's brilliant analysis and then brilliant terms, I think. And then, yeah, I think that's very interesting. And Hwang can also play on the left wing, or also he can, anytime he can go into the penalty box for South Korea as well. So I think maybe it's linked, and he could do it for Wolverhampton and for South Korea. So maybe both teams can note each other to find the best situation for Hwang. And I mean, before we move on to the question about the contract thing, there's one thing pops up to my mind. You remember that there was a very funny situation that Pep Guardiola called him the Korean guy.